Welcome to the Explainer. We've all wondered what goes on behind the scenes at a big, bustling hotel. Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain. We're going to dive into the general manager's playbook and decode all the key numbers and reports that really decide if a hotel is a runaway success or just getting by. Think of this as your crash course in thinking like a hotel manager.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. You've got hundreds of rooms, hundreds of guests, thousands of little moving parts, and it all has to run perfectly 24/7. How on earth do managers keep that entire operation on track? Well, it's not magic, I can tell you that. It's all about data. They have a dashboard of critical reports they look at every single day to measure, analyze, and make decisions. So let's see how they do it. All right, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with the daily numbers, the stuff every manager lives and breathes. Then we'll zoom out and see how a hotel stacks up against its competition. After that, we're going to shift gears and focus on the most important part, the guests. And of course, what happens when things go wrong. And finally, we'll tie it all together with the big one, profitability.
Look, in a market this competitive, you just can't manage what you don't measure. It's that simple. From the front office manager all the way up to the GM and the owners, everyone is glued to the same set of reports. And these aren't just numbers on a page, They are the compass that guides every single strategic decision every single day.
So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the core metrics, the absolute vital signs of any hotel. These are the first numbers a manager checks with their morning coffee. And they really are the foundation for, pretty much everything. And this is the nerve center. It's called the daily report. Now, I know it can look a little intimidating with all those numbers, but think of it as the hotel's daily health checkup. It gives you a perfect snapshot of performance, how full you were, how much money you made, and how that compares to last month and last year. Let's break down the most important numbers on this sheet. First up, we have occupancy. This is probably the most fundamental metric there is. It's just a simple percentage. Out of all the rooms we could have sold, how many did we actually sell last night? It's the purest measure of demand. And yeah, a high number is awesome, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. Are we just filling rooms by giving them away, or are we actually making money? Which, of course, brings us to our next metric. And that would be ADR, or average daily rate. So this number tells us, on average, the price we charged for the rooms we sold. It's a direct measure of our pricing power. Are we commanding those top dollar rates, or are we slashing prices just to get heads in beds? ADR gives us that crucial answer. And now let's talk about the superstar metric of the industry, RevPAR, revenue per available room. So why is this number so incredibly important? Because it perfectly blends both occupancy and ADR. It doesn't just look at the revenue from the rooms you sold, it brilliantly spreads that revenue across every single room in the hotel, even the empty ones. This gives you the absolute truest picture of how efficiently you're making money from your rooms. This slide really shows you why RevPAR is so powerful. Now, there are two ways to calculate it, but look at method 2. It directly multiplies the two metrics we just talked about, ADR and occupancy. It's just an elegant formula that combines demand and pricing into one number. That's why it's considered the single most important indicator of a hotel's financial health. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say your internal numbers look fantastic. You hit 90% occupancy. But what if every other hotel like yours in the city was 95% full? Are you actually winning, or are you just leaving money on the table? This is why we have to look beyond our own hotel. To really, truly understand how you're doing, you have to look outside your own four walls. Hotels do this by benchmarking themselves against what's called a competition set, or a comp set for short. This is basically a hand-picked group of their direct rivals, hotels that are similar in location, quality, and the kind of customer they're going after. And to see how they stack up against this comp set, managers use these three key indexes. MPI, the Market Penetration Index, measures your occupancy versus theirs. ARI, the Average Rate Index, measures your price versus their price. And then there's RGI, the big one, the Revenue Generation Index. It's based on RevPAR, and it tells you if you're getting your fair share of the total revenue pie. This is the ultimate scoreboard. And you know what? The rule for reading these reports is incredibly simple. If your score is over 100, you are winning. You are capturing more than your fair share. If it's below 100, well, your competitors are eating your lunch. The goal for any manager is to keep that all-important RGI score consistently above 100. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the hard numbers, but numbers don't check into rooms, people do.
And this is so critical. Having high occupancy doesn't actually guarantee you're profitable, especially if you're filling those rooms with the wrong kind of guests. So you have to understand who is staying with you and why.
This chart here illustrates a really crucial idea called the market mix. It shows that not all guests are created equal when it comes to profit. So, for example, online travel agents, your OTAs, they might bring in 40% of your guests, which looks great. But after you pay their hefty commissions, they might only contribute 25% of your actual revenue. A smart manager is always trying to balance these different guest segments to get the most profitable mix.
Now, beyond the finances, you have the much more subjective side of things, service quality. And this model, SERVQUAL, gives us a great way to think about it. It shows us that great service isn't just about the tangibles, like a clean room. It's also about things like reliability, responsiveness, the confidence your staff inspires, and that genuine, personalized care we call empathy.
Let's be real. In a business this complex, with so many moving parts, things are going to go wrong. A reservation gets lost, the air conditioning breaks, room service shows up late. The thing that separates a truly great hotel from just an average one isn't avoiding problems, it's mastering the art of fixing them.
And effective service recovery follows a very simple but incredibly powerful four-step process. First, you acknowledge the issue and you listen. Second, you offer a sincere apology. Third, you act right away to solve the problem. And finally, you assure the guest that you'll take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And this leads to a pretty fascinating idea known as the service recovery paradox. It basically says that a problem that is fixed brilliantly can actually create a customer who is more loyal than if nothing had gone wrong in the first place. It's a huge opportunity to turn a negative into a massive positive, building a real moment of connection and trust.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We've looked at our daily numbers, our competition, and our guests. How does all of this actually translate to the bottom line? For that, we have to turn to the single most important financial document in any hotel, the profit and loss statement, or the P&L.
The P&L always starts right at the top with total revenue. This is every single rupee the hotel earned, from rooms, from the restaurants and bars, the spa, events, absolutely everything. For our example, let's say that's 1 crore. Okay, so from that revenue, we then subtract all the costs of actually running the hotel day to day. We're talking about salaries, the cost of food, your marketing budget, electricity, all of those operating expenses. And in this case, that comes out to 50 lakh. And what we have left is the gross operating profit, or GOP. Now this number is absolutely vital. Why? Because it measures how good the management team is at running a tight ship, at operating efficiently and making a profit before you factor in fixed costs they can't control, like rent or insurance. It's the purest report card on how well the hotel is actually being managed. And there you have it. The whole dashboard is lit up. You know your occupancy, your RevPAR, your RGI score against the competition, and your operating profit. You know what's working and what's not. The reports are in, the guests are talking, the competition is making moves, so now you're in the manager's seat. What's your first move?